90 for Chill, the podcast, is happy to bring to you a 5-star offering from The Poetic Critic, all one word, on letterboxd.com.
Do you happen to have any idea where we are?
I haven't the least idea in the world.
We've come to ask for shelter. We've lost our way.
What is it? What do they want?
They want to know if they can stay here for the night.
My sister Rachel had this room once. She died when she was 21. Bless thou Lord, this is the house may they reprove a whole mankind. Amen. Whose lights? I suppose it's a store.
Here we are, 6 people sitting around. What do we know about each other? Not a thing.
I've got a funny feeling something dreadful might happen to us.
You don't seem to understand. We may be cut off, shut up in this house. There's a madman upstairs.
You shouldn't have come here. You see, it may be dangerous. Oh, Philip, not something else horrible. You're afraid, aren't you? You don't believe in God, and yet you're afraid to die.
And I've just finished watching the Dark Old House from 1932. Boris Karloff monster feature, I guess, is something that many would consider it. It's about 2 separate groups of people, a threesome and a twosome, husband, wife, and their friend, and sugar baby and her sugar daddy in Wales, stuck on the road after a flood and landslide, ending up in the Dark Old House that is operated by the Femme family, who happens to be hiding something that, you better get right with Jesus to survive. Now, honestly, it doesn't really play too much like a horror movie. I mean, something ominous is coming at all times, but the polite chatter amongst the characters kind of just comes off as Agatha Christie without really all the twists and turns or surprises. It's well acted, it's charming 30s dialogue, surprising enough twists at the end. Maybe it underutilized Karloff, especially since, all the modern stuff's going to put him in the poster art. At 1 hour, 12 minutes, it's not going to hurt you to give it a watch. Just got to be patient with it, and you'll get to the surprise struggles. And in the meantime, appreciate the mise-en-scène and just that classic 30s charm.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
And welcome back to 90 for Chill, the podcast. This is your host. The handle is Cool Movies Darth. That's CM Darth for short. You can find me on Letterboxd at that username. But it's probably just easier to call me Russ Stevens, despite of recently have had some delusions of grandeur of going back to Scoop Staley or Shooter Staley. Oh, what happens when your original vacation plans to go to Wizard World give you a free week in August that you gotta fill somehow. Let's just get to the show. This week, I don't have a guest lined up, so we're going for the brief and for YouTube, I suppose, with this format. And I've been trying to get people on it, but so far haven't gotten anybody to converse with me about vampire movies. But I've done a lot of research. I've recorded a bunch of stuff for that, for the next 10 minutes by this point. Let's just go and give you an insight into the world of Bloodsuckers, per the vision of one Russ Stevens. I do have a guest lined up at this time for next week's episode, and I think it's going to be the episode that the space opera should have been. Not an insult to the poetic critic, we just forgot a major space opera. Probably the most important space opera of the 1980s that fits the parameters of 90 for Chill. Otherwise, working on another guest on top of that, so we're going to get there. We're going to have a good amount of shows coming up. Thanks for sticking with me. And if you want to help out with the podcast, send me an email. Suggest a movie, film, theme, or director or actor, and I'd love to talk to you about them, provided we focus on their 90-minute works. They're about, 74 to 99 minutes is the parameters of this podcast. With that said, the email address is rustthebus07@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter. Currently at CatBusRuss is where I'm doing most of my communicating. But if you want to follow up my writings, maineventofthedead.com is where to do that. And you could also use that same email address, rustthebus07@gmail.com, to offer me suggestions on how to get my Pro Wrestling Zomcom Z movie out of developmental purgatory. I'll be happy to mail you a treatment if you're interested. So thanks for coming back, and I hope you enjoy.
Superman!
And I just thought about it in case I didn't sell you well enough on the next week's episode. Let's just say we got Rick Moranis, we got John Candy, we got Balls. I think that'll be enough for this intelligent film fan to figure out. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind help with trying to come up with some intro music, maybe some outro music. If you got any suggestions or you got some tunes you want to try, send me an email, rustthebus07@gmail.com. And thanks again.
They revealed themselves to us last year voluntarily. They're a different kind of breed of humanity. They're capable of blending in just like an ordinary human.
You're going to save us from ourselves.
The war between us is inevitable. What they know, you seek. What they want, you possess. What they are, you fear.
You wouldn't believe who's involved in this.
Don't believe what you see.
He's been here recently.
How do you know?
I can smell him.
Believe what you don't see. From Columbia TriStar Home Entertainment, Adrian Paul, Bookeem Woodbine, Bailing. The breed. The night has a breed of its own.
So I just concluded watching The Breed. Adrian Paul is our headlining star, despite I think it really is carried by performances by Bookeem, Woodbine, and Bailing from The Crow. Bookeem, he's pretty much gotten all of the tough supporting black characters, I'd say, of the 90s. I'm sorry, of the 2000s. He's Shocker number 2 in Spider-Man Homecoming. Skimble, get away from the keyboard. This film was released in 2001 about vampires trying to integrate themselves into human society, just like True Blood. Now, this movie came out the same year as the first Sookie Stackhouse novel, so I think they were just trying to beat HBO to the punch on this, and it's misses in so many ways. It tries to incorporate wire fu, which is laughable. Finds the direction of Russell McCulley outside of Highlander, the original, to be valid. The guy can't capture any action. He just sets it up in a frame. It's like, Kevin Smith knows his restrictions at least. Plot is, I summed it up pretty fast. A lot of espionage between both sides, trying to finish the other before they can finish them type stuff. A lot more fun with werewolves. Again, 2001 with Underworld. But this is just, like, I have seen a lot of... I don't know. I'm in a tough spot right now. Is it better to have a movie that's funny, or a movie that's competently directed? It just doesn't have the story, or just doesn't have the performances to make it worth anyone's time. So this could be great for how did this get made. This is... And as I say, there's some good performances by our primary leads, not Adrian Paul, which makes me think Highlander pretty much allowed him to push Gary Daniels away from the American scene, at least when it comes to made-for-video cinema. So it can be fun at times. CG is awful in it. They should never even attempted it. If you thought Blade was laughable, this tops that 100 times. So to view it, it's really, if you want good background noise, The Breed might just work for you.
And I see that I'm already at the 11-minute mark, so I think it's just best that I spoil you with a film that doesn't quite fit the parameters. I mean, a review for a film that doesn't quite fit the parameters. And we'll see you next week for our tentatively, don't want to deal in absolutes, Spaceballs episode. Thanks again.
Have you ever seen a vampire? They're not romantic. Forget whatever you've seen in the movies. They don't turn into bats. Crosses don't work. You want to kill one? You drive a wooden stake right through his heart. We think we got a nest inside this place. Let's get to work. Figure out at least 6 goons, maybe more. Chances are we'll find a master in here somewhere. Set up. He knew my name. It's time to kill some vampires.
Wherever you go, I will hunt you down. You can't kill me.
Let me just ask you one thing. After 600 years, how's that dick working? Pretty good?
So I just completed John Carpenter's Vampires. You know, it's a fun flick. I think it does run a little long. I don't think Carpenter's really cut out for a sprawling landscape to his stories. I think he's best in a confined area, you know, Chinatown. No real in-between travel and stuff, trying to fill in where it is. So it runs a little long. I think the problem I had is that it doesn't really feel like John Carpenter, because James Woods, who is great in the film, screws politics. He's just good. And this is before he went all Republican. And, you know, I could say, well, I had the same kind of thoughts in 1999. I digress. It's really, I'd rather he have, like, a cast of people who screamed Carpenter. And he just doesn't have that. And he gives you great cameos by people like, oh, damn it, Kari Horiyuki. I'm sorry if I've missed one of the last names on that. Played Shang Tsung, you know, your best Japanese American actor out there, in my opinion. Soundtrack's great, like Carpenter. It's just really like, look, would have been better if you just left it with Roddy Piper and Keith David. Kurt Russell, where was he? It could have been a lot more fun. Maximilian Schell as a villain works out great. Sorry if I spoiled that twist. If you like John Carpenter, this is going to be your most mainstream project of his. It's a good 2 hours to take.
Can I hear a wahoo?
This podcast is protected under the laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition may result in civil liability, criminal prosecution, and the wrath of the tall man.
Boy!